Good morning and welcome everybody to Live Real Talk with Nina, which is me. And I have with me today the fabulous Jason Van Orden, which I'm super excited to have with me. And Jason, why don't you introduce yourself so we know who you are?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Nina. Absolutely. So I'm Jason Van Orden. I live in Brooklyn, New York, and I am a business coach and strategist that works with coaches and consultants to help them package their expertise as scalable forms of income, like online courses and group programs, so they can help more people and lift that ceiling on their income that is inherent with one-to-one services, where you only have so much of your time to sell. So that's what I do.
Awesome. And I'm very excited to have this conversation with you today because I think a lot of people in the orbit that is around Clockwise Productions and me is in that world of giving, being coaches, being consultants, and struggling, I frankly often with either starting to do like move from one to many, or are also doing already the courses but are kind of fumbling through it, right?
Right.
Before we go into that, however, Jason, I would love just to go a little back and hear what's your background, how did you get where you are now, and give us like the 2 hour version, not the 5 hour version.
Okay. Yeah, so here are the kind of the key elements that led to where I am now, and some people might find this interesting just because I think it's interesting to hear like how people zigzag their way into what
Hmm.
it is that they do, right? Because I started out as a software engineer, but after 3 years of that, I realized I'm not happy working for somebody
Hmm.
else, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate with that who've struck out on their own in their own direction. So I dove into real estate investing back in 2003, and it's just simply because I'd been reading a lot of books like Rich Dad Poor Dad and others like that, trying to figure out like, well, what if I'm not going to be an engineer, what am I going to do? And they talk a lot about real estate investing, so I guess I'll try that out.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate to have a mentor at the time who was teaching me real estate investing. But also, there's something else interesting that he did that was a big light bulb for me, and that was that he put together a seminar, and he
Hmm.
was also teaching people how to do real estate investing. And so I remember attending one of his seminars and seeing everybody in that ballroom, there to learn from him. And I'd been a teacher as an undergraduate and really enjoyed it. And so I was like, this is so cool. He's teaching on his own terms and getting paid to do it. What if I did something like this?
Yeah.
But I wasn't experienced in real estate investing. However, what I did have some experience in was marketing, because for about a decade before that, I had been in a number of bands, like rock bands, and studied a
Yeah.
lot of marketing in order to figure out, well, how do I get people to buy my CDs and come to my shows? And so I
Brilliant.
learned about email marketing and all the good things like that, right?
Hmm.
So real estate investing, my colleagues started asking me about, hey, can you teach us a little bit about marketing? Because we're always trying to find buyers and sellers, and sometimes it's hard to,
Yeah.
their strength was in deal making. So I
Yeah.
dove into consulting and that, and then that light bulb went off about the teaching. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. So I rented a room from a local college, community college,
Hmm.
and I got a list of 83 mailing addresses, so like snail mail addresses, and it was like different, from the Real Estate Investors
Yeah.
Association.
Yeah.
And I sent out this sequence of mailers and managed to get 25 people in the room, filled the room, made $8,000 in one day. And I was just like, this is amazing. This is awesome. Like, I love packaging up expertise and selling it in this way, because I knew I
Hmm.
didn't want to be an academic. That would have just drove me crazy as well, like
Yep.
working for
Yep.
somebody else, right? So I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do. It was referred to commonly at the time as information marketing. Well, now I had a course because I recorded it. I knew enough to record it. I was
Mm.
burning it to CDs. I was printing out the slides and the notes as a manual, and I was mailing it to people who would buy this course. And so I went on the internet looking for more buyers. So now we're in like 2004, beginning of 2005. I'm like,
So
I want
you
to
were
make
really an early adapter. Yeah. Yeah.
pretty early on. And and then this was all like an offline course, but I was eventually started stumbling upon, oh wait, you can do these courses through online as well. Well, an
Mhm.
interesting thing happened in the beginning of 2005. I heard about the word podcasting, and just got really curious about, well, what is this podcasting thing, and started Googling for it. And
Mm.
Google actually tried to correct me because Google didn't know yet what podcasting was. And but the audio engineer musician in me like understood the audio part, and the engineer in me understood the technical part, and it was very technical at the time. We didn't have all the tools we have now
Of
to make
course, yeah,
podcasting a lot
yeah,
easier. And kind of that marketer in me saw some potential for business. Is like, I'm going to be the podcasting guy, the business
mhm,
podcasting guy. So I dove into that. um, to sum this story up, I started a couple of podcasts at the same time, and one of
mhm,
them was the very first podcast about internet marketing and online business. It was called Internet Business Mastery,
yeah,
and within a year or two, it had a big audience, and it,
wow,
it just kind
yeah,
of took off unexpectedly. It was just a friend and I, just like, hey, let's try out this podcasting thing and see how it goes.
yeah,
Well, next thing we knew, we had an audience, and they're saying, do you guys coach? Do you have courses? Do you like, your story is inspiring? We
mhm,
love the tips you share, but do you have the A to Z system that we can
yeah,
follow? So, like, okay, we'll put together our A to Z system. We called it the Academy,
yeah,
and started selling that. And so that's how that became my full-time focus for about the next decade or so, was
yeah,
that internet business mastery, teaching beginning entrepreneurs how to get started on the internet.
yeah,
And then 5 years ago, I was like, I need a change. It's time to change it up. This has been fun, but we always want to keep ourselves like fresh and challenged. And so I decided, what I really loved about internet business mastery was helping those people who showed up with a story to tell, a method to share, a thing that they're like, I got to get this out in the world. I mean, they wanted to start a business too, but like,
mhm,
I've got this thing I got to share. It's like, this is who I want to work with. So I started working with established experts, so coaches and
mhm,
consultants doing great work, getting amazing results, but they wanted to reach more of those people that they are that uniquely equipped to serve. And so all that experience of making courses and eventually teaching courses online and teaching thousands of people over all those years how to do courses, that's where I started focusing, because I think
mhm.
it's such a great opportunity for people to make an impact in the world. And I just love helping them figure out that right way to encapsulate what they do so well and be able to deliver those amazing results to more of the people that they want to serve.
Yep. Great. So how does that work? Because you're sort of in a like a metaverse, right? Because you're doing what you're teaching, right?
Right, right.
So how does that
Encapsulate
translate
what
for
they do
you?
so well. Yeah. So one of the things that uh, one of the things that I tell actually my clients and my students who take my workshop is, not only are they going to learn my system, but they're
Mhm.
actually going to see in action. They're going to learn from how I run my group programs, and how do
Yeah.
you make a group program that gets results, allows you to serve more people without taking over your time, and so forth. So on that meta level, I actually try to lean into that and just be a good example of the principles that I teach and put into place. But yeah, my programs, I have two of them. One's a mastermind upgrade your business model program, and one is, let's launch your online course over the next 10 weeks. Let's go from
Mhm,
scratch to getting a pilot up and running and filled. And I run those both as group programs. I'm a big fan of
mhm.
running with some live element and support like that, because I think people get better results that way. There's definitely a place also for digital courses inside of a business model, but I really love that interactive way too of teaching. So that's how I work with people. I work a little bit with people one-on-one as well.
Mhm.
But yeah, I love creating those frameworks that people can follow to simplify the process, because a lot of people do get derailed when they start thinking about possibly doing an online course, or like overwhelmed, or they don't know what the first steps are, or the tech
Yeah.
can really overwhelm them and be confusing. And
And
so my
and
system tries
video.
to like really strip that down
Yeah.
and take the tech headaches out of the way, and simplify getting your expertise out of your brain and into a curriculum that makes sense for people and gets results consistently. And so, just cracking the code of all those pieces of successfully designing, launching, marketing a course has been my focus.
So and I totally resonate with that because that's what we do at Clockwise too, right? We do as we preach, so to speak. So I always tell people, if you want to see what it looks like when you put out consistent video on LinkedIn and get organic growth, watch us, because that's what we're doing and we're
Right.
modeling. And because we're doing it, we also are not teaching anything that is stale or put in place and then rigid. It's actually a living, breathing thing, and gets adjusted all the time.
Mhm.
So I have a lot of questions. Because this is also, interesting for us. I mean, we have courses. We do a hybrid between one-on-one group and online, and I find that works really, really, really well.
Mhm.
Because online only people like there's an online course right now that I'm really dying to do, but I'm also trying to get two girlfriends to sign on at the same time as I am,
Because you
because I
want
know.
someone to do it with.
Exactly, because I'm not gonna do it
Yeah.
by myself. I just
Right.
know I won't. If and it's not the most expensive course, and it's something I really, really, really wanna do because I think it would really be helpful. And I know that I need that accountability of, like, a weekly group call, or
Mhm.
whatever we decide to do, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I saw you were posting somewhere about, the roadmap, not or the framework you're calling it, right?
Mhm.
The framework. So explain to me how you define framework, because from what I understand, you very much look at it as a living, breathing thing that, um, gets adjusted to your client's needs. So I'm really curious about what how that looks like, and first of all, what the definition for you is and what that looks like.
Okay. Yeah. So one of the things that's really frustrated me in online education, in particular, especially in the business realm, is that a lot of people sell a formula.
Yeah.
Just do these steps, just follow this, and you'll get the same results as me. And for
Yeah.
certain, like, simple things, that's true. But
No.
often somebody's success, they actually might not even realize all the elements that led them there, and your
Mhm.
circumstances are different than theirs. So
Yeah.
that's why so many people get frustrated, because they buy into this formula, which is sexy. It's like, right, I just got to follow a formula and I'll get the same results. But then it's frustrating when you get in there and it
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
work the same way
Yeah.
for you. And so that's why I strive in my courses and how I teach people to create their courses to create everything as frameworks. So, it's those it might be as simple as like a worksheet. It might look like a diagram, but it's something that helps people to understand a concept, organize their ideas, and then get it implemented, in a very streamlined way. Hopefully, remove some of that friction, but it
Mhm.
leaves that room, right? It's based on principles that work. It's
Yeah.
based on sound marketing practices,
So,
business
it's
practices,
those,
learning and
it might be
education
as simple as like
practices,
a worksheet. It
but
might look like
it's
a diagram. But
it
it's going to help.
leaves that room for their strengths, their goals, their vision, what makes them unique, to put into that framework of system. So, I'm sure you'd agree. There's a lot of different ways you can do content online and
Yeah.
build your platform. You might as well pick the channels and the formats and the ways that are, a good fit for you, so you'll be consistent. It's the
Yeah.
same way with creating a course or designing your business model. And so that's why I like breaking it down into frameworks, whether that's a framework for, I've got a framework for how to make a nurture sequence. I've got frameworks to help people understand what a customer journey or funnel needs to look like, and the buyer psychology at every step, so you can make sure there aren't any holes in your messaging. I have frameworks to help people create a curriculum out of their ideas. So these are all things that, that's my goal at all times, is try to make the absolute best frameworks I can.
Yeah.
And that's based on working directly with clients, teaching students over the years, seeing what's working, trying things out continually myself. Because, like I said, I do what I teach,
Mhm.
and I keep adjusting and improving the frameworks every time I teach them, just to tighten them up and make them that much more effective for people.
Yep. Do you, and this is just a sort of a throwaway question, but I do want to ask it because I'm just curious. Are you working with people on launch models for their courses, or more on open enrollment, or is that not even a topic? I mean, or is that just, everybody's on their own with that?
No, I definitely talk about how to market and launch your course, and that includes um, looking at the messaging and figuring out the right messaging that's going to gain the attention of your ideal person and earn their
Mhm.
trust and inspire them to buy. Now, that messaging can be delivered in a number of different ways: through a webinar, through an email sequence. Of course, you're going to have your social media and your podcast or whatever you're doing to
Mhm.
gain the attention of people to begin with. But eventually, you got to get them into a customer journey that takes them through this thoughtful process of helping them
Mhm.
understand why your solution is the best solution for them, and why they should
Yeah.
consider doing it now if it's something that fits their goals and vibes with them. So,
Hmm. Yeah.
um, and so, yeah, I help with that process of the messaging and deciding how to best deliver that. Now, in terms of open enrollment or like launch model,
Hmm.
I teach both. And really, again, going back to like what's going to work for you and your
Yeah.
business model and what you want
Yeah.
to do. I mean, there are advantages to just opening up at certain times of the year your program. That's actually what
Hmm.
I do right now.
Yeah.
But then there's also advantages to having that thing that's continually available that, any
Yeah.
site visitor or new person to your list can sign up for. And that's all strategy. It's like, okay, where does this course sit in your business model? If it is like a lower priced thing that is meant to prepare people to then work with you more directly, well, you'd want that to be available all the time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If it's something that's more cohort based, and it's very important for you to like, I want to have that tight, well-crafted group of 10 or 15 people that I'm guiding
Hmm.
through all at the same time, and they're supporting each other because there's
Yeah.
immense value in offering that. Well, then you're going to, launch it at specific times and fill that group and then start them and march them through.
Yeah.
So, what it's a client by client basis in terms of which one I help people do, because it just depends on what their goals are and what their business model looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. I find that's really interesting because we were in a launch mode with our main project or program because of what you just said. We wanted it to be a cohesive group that supported one another and were led through this 3 months thing. But then what would happen is more than on one occasion that people I was on a call with were ready to buy, and I had just started a cohort. And when I followed up with them again 3 months later, crickets, it moved on, whatever. And so I moved into open enrollment. And I found I have a brilliant business coach, and she helped me like rework it such that it still made sense, right? There was still
Mhm.
that support element in the groups. And I think it made it a better and stronger program for it. But I'm still finding myself going like, we've got the November cohort starting. Who wants to join? There's just something about that timeliness factor, although it's open enrollment, but still, I mean, I put people always in at the first of the month. So
Right.
there's at least within the month, there's cohesion in the group, right?
Yeah.
But it's just so funny how there's just this. I don't know whether it's a scarcity mindset where it's like, "Ooh, it's in November. We need to get on board now," and there's only X seats, right?
Right.
But I do keep my groups really
It
small.
does help people, yeah, motivate people to make that
Make
decision.
the buying decision, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah. So intellectual property, getting it into a course.
Mhm.
With people who work one on one, normally, how does that transition work without them chopping off their legs with their one on one people? Like, what does that process like? I'm just curious what because I think that's what I hear of people being afraid of a lot, that they might give away too much for free, or
Ah,
like they have something that is a $20,000 thing, and now if we're making it a $2,000 course and everybody has access to it for only $2,000, will that will that be detrimental to my one on one?
yeah, that's a really good question, and yeah, it's a good strategic question that,
Hmm.
why going in, you'd want to understand well, like, what do I want this course to do for my overall business model and the growth of my business? And so, in the case of it, potentially eroding away at your one-on-one work, well, I mean, often when I'm working with people to make a course, it's because they want to attract additional people to put into the
Hmm.
course. And sometimes it's like, again, it might be to prepare those people to do one-on-one. Sometimes it is like, hey, the same people that I do one-on-one with, I want to offer this other, because not everybody can afford my one-on-one. So that's
Hmm.
another reason why,
Yeah.
because there are different types of buyers, right, with different types of
Yeah.
budgetary needs. There are also different types of buyers and learners in terms of, some people, they want to have like, hey, I'd love to be on the phone with you on a weekly basis, just, be able to talk directly with you. And other people are like, hey, no, I love the group setting that fits my price point better. So I find this like, really, in your audience, there are going to be these different types of buyers. And actually, it's
Hmm.
probably more likely that you're missing out on helping certain people by not having that additional,
Yeah.
additional methods to work with them or help them. as opposed to it just eroding away at what you're already doing with your one-on-one. But don't make any mistake about it. You are going to want to do more lead generation. Sometimes I'm helping somebody make a course because they're getting lots of leads and they can't handle them all. And sometimes it's because I want to be able to help more people, but I'm already maxed out over here. So if I don't have another way, so usually it's an expansive thing as opposed to, it's just about a matter of being strategic going in and knowing what the end goal is that you want to achieve with your course.
Yeah, and I think what you said is really important, that you have in mind what your entire ecosystem is and how the pieces fit together, right? I think that is really important. So what does growth look like once you have a course? I mean, so you now are going from a model of, let's say, you need 10 clients a year to I need 500 clients a year. So that is a completely different, selling cycle, marketing cycle, etc. And as you just said, it's often an add-on, not a replacement. But still, if you want to keep that model up of having many more clients that coming into group, hence also you need more clients because they're paying less. How does that transition look like for your clients in terms of their marketing and their cash flow?
Yeah, so this is a really important question because some people go learn how to make an online course from somebody and then they've got an online course, but now it's like selling it is a whole other thing, or making it work with the other pieces of your business. It's a whole other thing. That's why I try to take this very holistic view. And it's not just about creating the course. Like the right way to do it is, we're going to also need to optimize your messaging, because it's different to like get a referral and hop on the phone with someone and be able to find out exactly what their needs are. And then, explain directly to them, given what their goals and strengths are, here's why my one-to-one coaching offer is going to be the good fit for what we're talking about here. Versus, hey, you've got 100 new people that joined your email list and you don't have time to get on the phone with 100 people, even if all of them are interested, or even, if only part of them are interested. So you need to be able to communicate your messaging in a more scalable way as well, which both means the messaging itself needs to be tighter and more deliberate so that the wide sample of people you want to reach make that connection of like, oh yeah, this is for me, even if they don't have that opportunity to get on the phone with you for you to make that personal, explanation or sales connection with them. So the messaging needs to evolve. You are going to need to go from, whether it's, referrals and networking or whatever you're doing to get your, keep your roster of clients full over here. Now you are going to need to expand and find, often I help them start or more deliberately build their email list, because that's going to be key for keeping enough people and filling your courses on a regular basis. And often over here, like before they make that leap, like they might have an email list, maybe not. Maybe they email them once a month. Maybe it's been a few months since it's like, okay, well, we're going to need to get deliberate now about your email marketing strategy. We're also going to need to get more deliberate about that customer journey, because again, it can't just be like, hey, phone, generate lead and phone call, and then they start working with me. Now it's like, hey, we might need to get them through a sequence of emails and put the offer in front of them in the right time when it looks like they're ready for the offer. So these are all things that need to evolve: the messaging, the customer journey, and probably increasing, adding a couple more channels of lead generation as well. But it's about growth. I mean, if you're coming in going, hey, I want to create this course so that I can serve more people or serve this new audience or serve the people who can't afford, right? Like that's just part of growth. And part of growth is going to be, I need to get in front of more people. But the nice thing is that when you design a course, there's so much about that process and it forcing you to refine your positioning and your messaging that you're actually going to find that now it gets easier to get your message in front of the right people and have them go, oh my goodness, this is absolutely for me. And so, it's just a transition of up leveling to that next evolution of your business and your marketing and your sales process and so forth. And not just stitching an online course onto your business and hoping for the best.
Yeah, I mean, no, I totally agree with you. Without that holistic, how does this fit in with everything? Nothing works, right? And then, it's also, and this is something I talk to my clients about a lot, is if you're not speaking from a place of absolute clarity and confidence about what it is that you do, it will show in your messaging. Even if your messaging on the surface is all clear and on point, there's still that confusion that you have, or whatever it is, insecurity, that will just come through, right? That will come through on
Right.
video one way or another. You can't avoid that. So if you really want to build that trust and you really want to have that connection with your people, you need to come you need to be very clear on what it is that you're doing and why you're doing this piece versus this piece versus this piece.
And I
um,
find that by
mhm.
going through the process of creating the online course, that it also up levels often that mindset and that confidence and that clarity in yourself about, oh, this is, how I best create results. Because
Yeah,
you've had to actually sit down and, you're probably really good at what you do, and you can get in there and work intuitively with people and one-on-one, again, make great results happen. But now when you've got to design something that you can put tens, hundreds, thousands of
yeah,
people through, and it needs to generate consistent results, it's like you got to be that much more thoughtful about, okay, what are the outcomes these people are going for? What are just
yeah.
the most essential things that need to be in the modules and lessons in order to get there? How is it actually I get results for my clients? Okay, yeah, I usually do this step and then that milestone, and I use this tool, and then so you get more deliberate about organizing it. So
Yeah.
now on the other side of that, you've kind of upgraded your own clarity and understanding about how you create the best value, using your skills and your unique genius. And then that not only, so then that comes back over here and actually helps you create even better results and
Oh,
even
yeah,
more efficient time for the end, give an even better experience to this set of clients, in addition
yeah,
to those who might go through your course. And I'm constantly pulling tools now that I've created for my courses
yep,
over here to my
yep,
clients, and having them use that, and just like streamlines the whole process. And they love it when it's like, I've got a perfect worksheet for you to for
yep,
that, because I
yep,
designed it for the course over here.
yep.
So there's also that kind of upgrade and transition that happens, relating exactly to what you're talking about there, having more of that confidence and clarity about, these are the outcomes I delivered. This is how I talk about those outcomes. This is how I help deliver those outcomes for people. And it impacts your whole business, like you said, when you can think about things more in that way.
Amen to that. That is exactly the experience I had when I started my course. My one-on-ones were profiting in leaps and bounds from it, right? Because all of a sudden now I'm organized. I mean,
Yeah,
yes, I had my talking points. Yes, I knew what the outcomes and the goals and the benchmarks were, but I got there by just talking to people and talking them through it. Now I am, as you said earlier, here's a worksheet. Here's a quick video. If you forget what I told you, you can watch that before you shoot to refresh
right.
your memory.
Yeah,
And all of a sudden I had all these amazing tools at my fingertip where I'm like, ooh, I should have done that a long time ago.
yeah,
And so, yeah, definitely, definitely. And that clarity piece, I mean, it seems so, yeah, duh, obvious, and at the same time it really for a lot of people isn't, right?
right.
So yeah, yeah, definitely. And I'm so excited about what you just said that I totally forgot what my next question.
That was a good topic.
Oh yes, now I remember. So I just had a conversation with someone the other day about what lead magnets are still working. And what we definitely know at this point, I think, and I think this has been sort of a watershed year where a lot of stuff that worked really well until the end of 21, just all of a sudden in 22, just fell flat on its face. So, the little tip sheet where you can download, those just don't fly anymore. People don't do that anymore, or they opt out of the email before they even, you know, right after downloading it. What I hear still works really well, and we know that for sure because we have one is quiz, especially like what personality are you quizzes. Those work really well. But I also hear that mini e-courses do really, really well. So I'm curious whether you have done any of those, or like your thoughts on that, like something that is I don't know, maybe I don't even know what they look like. Is it a video and a worksheet, or something like that?
Yeah. So yeah, that is for some people it can work really well to have a mini course as your lead magnet. Now, the danger, I mean, first of all, you want to focus in on, like, what's this very quick but highly desirable result that I could help them get in a short amount of time. Like, you don't want the 30-day I mean, I see this sometimes and stuff, but it's like, this person, they're ready to get going now. And if it's going to take them 30 days to go through your mini course, which they probably won't even finish at that point,
Yeah.
they're not going to have a chance to upgrade in that. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
if you are going to go that route, 5 days, make it, quick, chop it up. And in fact, I'd probably even give them a way that if they're the kind of person that's like, give it all to me now, then I probably allow them to like,
Oh,
hey, I'm
yeah.
gonna send these out to you each day, but also you can click here and, we'll go ahead and jump ahead and get you through this whole mini course. Because if they're ready to go, you don't want to be like putting the brakes on their progress
and on their
through that customer
enthusiasm.
journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, mini courses can work great. You want to think about, okay, how does this mini course set them up for taking the paid course that comes after it? So what kind of like aha moments is it going to give them? Maybe it does help them do an assessment of themselves and go like, oh, wow, now I see where the holes are. And I need to know now how to plug those holes or plan things out. Like a mini course that help people figure out exactly what course their audience is just ready and excited to buy from them. That would be a pretty good result for this. In fact, I'm doing a workshop about that tomorrow. And the hope is that some people will be like, wow, I didn't know that I had such a clear idea for a course, but now I do. Maybe I will sign up for Jason's workshop that's starting next month, right? So, so you want those to tie together nicely and seamlessly. So those are some of the criteria to make sure you keep in mind if you are going to go that route. But the quiz thing works great too. There's a lot of great psychology there. And, one type of quiz you can give that sets up nicely for the course is like that assessment, right? That helps them have some further understanding now about their circumstances and their goals and maybe why they're still struggling to get there or whatever. So that then with that awareness, you can then help them see why, hey, and this is the thing that's going to help you ultimately get you, this paid course is going to ultimately help you get to, now that you see the whole picture, let's show you how to get to where you want to go from where you're at right now. So, those are a couple of directions to go. And then another lead magnet that's working really great is to actually deliver an experience that gives people a sample of who you are, the kinds of people you bring together, how you coach, how you guide them through things. So that can look like a workshop. It can look like a networking or discussion type group. I'm seeing a lot more of this. And the nice thing is like with these, if you put together really quality experiences, like there's a networking event that I do every month, and a lot of people now refer people to that networking program. And I've structured the networking program to appeal to the type of people that I work with, that I enjoy working with, thought leaders and coaches and consultants. And so, when you've got that kind of experience, not only are they showing up in the space of my brand and connecting, making valuable connections and seeing how I facilitate and the quality kind of community that I build, which is the same, what it's like when they join my program too. It's also something that's easy for people to refer others to. So, it's a little, hey, I love referring people out to any kind of quality course or work if it's what they need, but it's even easier when it's like, oh, there's this thing that Nina does and you got to go check it out. She does it every month or whatever. Right. And so that kind of experience has worked really well for me and my clients and others, colleagues that I know are doing similar things.
Yeah. I mean, we met through Kat, who has her firework experience and what's it called, the podcast mixer, which is always on a Friday, which is never good for me. But the few times I have attended, it was an amazing experience. And she obviously puts a lot of thought and love behind it. And she's got a huge group coming, to her testament. And I understand that yours is similar. So how do we join yours actually, Jason, since we're at it?
Yeah, the networking group. So if you go to, the name of the community is Generous Entrepreneurs in Media. And so we bring together thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are content creators and experts who go and interview on, video shows and podcasts and stuff like this. And, and help connect people with interviews and collaborations, but it also just leads to all kinds of other, interesting connections, and people get clients through it. And just because it's a really thoughtful community, and we focus on helping you really get to know people in a short amount of time. So it goes beyond just like, oh, what do you do? Here's what I do. Who do you work with? Okay, here's who I work with. It's like, okay, yeah, you need to know that. But what I really want to know is, do I vibe with you? Like, we have, does it look like, do I naturally want to get to know you better? Does it seem like it'd be fun to collaborate with you in some way? And so if you have that opportunity to go into a breakout room and have a quality discussion with a few other people, and you're like, oh, I kind of got a little bit of a sense of who you are. It makes
Mhm.
it much easier after that event to go like, okay, here are the 2 or 3 people I definitely want to follow up with and have a
Yeah.
coffee chat with.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, if you go to generousentrepreneurs.media.com, you can sign up once a month. We do I mean, we'll probably expand this into other things right now, but right now it's just that once a month we do the podcasting kind of mixer, connecting
Yep.
people.
Yep. Very cool. Yeah. And again, I think, as with everything, you get out what you put in, right? So
Right.
it's not just, we did this in the very beginning, like 4 years ago. We did like the office hour with Nina, ask Nina any questions. And we did it once a month. And after 3 months, always the same single woman showed up and got $500 worth of questions answered. And then she left again. And we're like, okay, this is obviously not working the way we thought it would. But it was also that, we announced it on social media, we set up the hour, but, there was also, was still sort of 4 years ago, it was still sort of that mindset of, if you build it, they will come. And that's just not the way it works. So,
Right. You gotta, yeah, get out there, and it takes a little while for it to snowball. I mean,
yeah,
we were doing it for, for the first like year or so, we had to hustle a lot more to get new people into, right.
yeah,
And now at some point it kind of started, and I still, I'm always connecting with people and inviting people to come.
yeah,
But eventually it did kind of hit this critical mass where enough other people were talking about it and going, oh yeah, you gotta, and they like sharing it because they feel like they're giving someone else something of value. It's like, oh yeah, show up to Jason and Michael's networking thing.
yeah,
You're going to get some quality connections and land a couple interviews, right? So
yeah,
of course you want to share that with somebody, because now they're going to
yeah,
thank you for having connected
yeah.
to something so valuable, right? So
And
eventually you can get it to that point, but it does take some hustling to get that snowballing going, whatever the format might be.
yeah. Absolutely. No, totally agree. And I love your idea. Yeah, with the mini course. I didn't even think of it being like, to go back to the mini course, because that's still on my mind.
Sure.
It didn't occur to me that it would be a multi-day thing or a multi-chapter thing. But so it would be something. And again, you probably want to have it all be bite-sized, right? So people can digest easily and be done after 10-15 minute engagement, right? So yeah.
And
That
even there, like, create an experience for them, right? Like the
yeah,
way you
yeah.
deliver it, like, or even, I mean, the way I have my courses set up right now, and my plan is to make it so that I actually do have a couple mini courses I want to make available for free. But I'm gonna
Mhm.
make it so you sign up for my email list, you automatically get a login to my hub where all of my courses live. You'll go there to access the free mini course, but you also see it's like, oh, here's all Jason's other stuff.
Ooh,
And
yeah,
so, like, creating an experience in the way that you welcome it in and take them through the information, and they maybe, getting access to a site. I mean, test it out with something simple. It's like, look, if you want to try a mini course, my philosophy is always minimum viable product.
yep,
Great. Make a handful of videos, send them out by email once a day over a week or whatever the case may be. But eventually, like, think about, how do I craft an experience? It's kind of the similar thing, whether it's this like networking Q&A kind of experience or even a more digital experience, but bring them into your world, show them what it's like to associate with you, learn from you, be inspired by you, that you offer like this quality information, a seamless, enjoyable experience, and then this is the
yeah,
stuff that's going to make them go like, yeah, this is somebody I want to continue to work with in some way, and
yeah,
eventually invest time, money, and energy into.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and to your testament, you're making it sound so easy, and yet we know that there's some thought and some production and value and all of that that needs to go into that for it to make sense. And I guess that's where someone like you comes into play, who can really help people think through that strategically.
Right, like, yeah, the right formats and the right way to deliver it, and
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Yeah, sure. But I will say, like, when I'm launching a course for this first time with a client, we'll launch it as a pilot, and we'll do it like as minimally as possible. Like, we
Hmm.
won't set up the whole course hub the first time around. We'll run the first cohort maybe just as a series of Zoom calls with a
Hmm.
Google Drive folder where the recordings are kept,
Hmm.
some Google Docs if they're like tools and things like, worksheets or
Hmm.
whatever,
Yeah.
and email communicating with them. And so it's like, hey, let's just see if we can get 10 people to buy into this and go through it and get some results. And
Yeah.
then we'll kind of learn from that feedback, and we can improve anything that we need to in the messaging or in the curriculum or the
Yeah.
setup. And then we can go and like record it as the set of nice videos that goes into a, you know, a nice course hub or whatever, but get it to market fast the first time. That's one big mistake I see a lot of people, is that they end up spending all this time creating content or all this time worrying about and trying to do stuff with the tech. And it's like, no, you know how like Apple and other big startups, like how they get a product to market quickly, right? They do market research, but then, I mean, look, we're on the iPhone, I don't know what now today, like 13 or something, but
14,
iPhone 1 was very different from the iPhone we've
Yes.
got today.
Yeah.
Some of that is because technology's improved, and some of it's just
Evolved.
like,
Yeah.
hey, they get feedback and they iterate and they just bit by bit improve their
Yeah.
product, right? And
Yeah.
so that's how we want to think about our products too. And that
Yeah.
speed to getting it to market is really important, because you don't want to work on something forever just to release it and then find out I missed the mark. People
Yeah.
aren't buying this.
Yeah.
Something's not right because you
Yeah.
didn't do the testing or the market research or, you know, all those
Yeah.
things first.
Oh, definitely. I mean, our Connect and Convert cohort looked completely different, was also called differently when we started it 3.5 years ago. I mean, somebody who did it 3.5 years ago would not recognize what we do with it today. The
Right.
content has always stayed the same. I mean, we're teaching people how to shoot video and how to
Right.
do it strategically and how to do it easily. But it still is just a completely different experience and a completely different way also of I'm always aware of how, some people are like tactile learners and audio learners and visual learners, etc. And with
Right.
a medium like video, you do have an opportunity to kind of grab everybody sort of where they're at their best, right? And to teach them. I mean, in the end, we're audiovisual with video, but getting there, there's many ways to skin that cat. And that's why I
Yeah.
loved your conversation we had earlier about frameworks rather than
Formulas.
roadmaps or whatever else you want to call it. To me, it's always been a framework, but I've never been clear on the terminology. So thank you
Mhm.
for that. For going forward, I will use the word framework.
Nice.
So you kind of answered my nearly last question. I always say it's my last question, and I think of five more, which was, what are the biggest mistake you see people do in the space of creating online courses? So going out too big and too complicated, and not going for the minimal viable product is probably the biggest one that you see. Are there, or what are others, or are there
Yeah.
no
So, I mean,
ones?
quickly in reviewing, yeah, some of the ones we talked about, you got to be strategic about how is this going to fit into my business model so that you can
Mhm.
go into it creating in a way that's going to connect with and enhance everything. You want to, here's one that we didn't mention explicitly, but that's important. You know, people will come to me and say, "Hey, Jason, what do you think of a course about, excuse me, a course about digital photography?"
Mhm.
Like, well, I don't know enough. It's probably just saying a course of digital photography probably won't do too well. And here's the reason why, is that you're not making a course about a topic or even about your expertise. You're making a course that delivers outcomes. That's what they're buying. Like, if you could give them a 5-minute video and like a 1-page thing that got them a
Mhm.
$10,000 result, they'll pay good money for that, even if it only takes them 5 minutes to go through, right? They want the outcome. It's not so that's another mistake, is not defining like, what are the outcomes that I'm delivering? Is it
Yeah.
a photography course for parents to help them with their iPhone take amazing pictures of their child that was just born, and they want to be able to like catalog their early
Yeah.
life, right? Or is it the hobbyist who wants to learn how to make some money with their camp so they can now fund their hobby that's getting more and more expensive, right? Those are
Yeah.
different courses. So being clear about what those outcomes is really, really important. Who's the ideal student? What are their ideal outcomes that they want? Very, very important to define as
Yes.
you're going in.
Mhm.
Um, Another mistake that we make is, we already said, is getting too complicated with it, taking too long to get something to market. And kind of an offshoot of that is being overwhelming people. That's one of the number one reasons people will
Oh, yeah.
stop a
Oh my
course, is that
God,
they're
I was
overwhelmed. And we
so
get
guilty of that. Yeah.
we like get stuck in our brain. oh, they're buying information, so I'll give them lots of information. It's like,
TMI.
again, no, they're buying the outcome, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
when I help people put together their curriculum and what we call their signature method, we're very mindful about, okay, here are the outcomes and here are the milestones along the way that they're going to
yeah.
reach that are going to keep them motivated and they'll see the progress. And now, and each one of those is a module. And now within that module, we are only going to put the things that are absolutely necessary to reach that milestone. Okay, now we're going to do that. And anything else, you strip on out, and maybe it might be a bonus thing, it might be another course, it might be whatever, right? But you got overwhelming your students is going to be one of the biggest problems. And so it's important to know how to structure your methodology and your curriculum correctly so that people are motivated, they get through it without getting derailed on the way, because you want them to get the results, because then they'll be happily talking to everyone else about the results that you got them, and those people want to come take your course too. So those are some of the biggest mistakes right off the top of my head. Of course, there's lots of promotional mistakes that people make, but those are the ones that some of the biggest ones when it comes to creating the courses.
Creating. Yeah, I
So,
mean, and it's also when people are overfed, they're still digesting when they're done.
yeah,
So they're not going to buy what you have to offer next because they still feel like they have four years worth of shit that they haven't gotten through yet in your course
yeah,
that they need to get through and digest.
yep,
And that is something that I really had to learn too, because I wanted to give, and I'm like, been a producer for 30 years, so my knowledge is fairly deep, and I thought I had to share all of it with my clients,
right,
right?
yeah.
And that was definitely a learning experience. And now that you say that, I'm like, I think I should go through my cohort one more time and make sure there's not too much information in there. Yeah,
Well, I'm always streamlining my, like sometimes, yeah, when I go
yeah,
back, because every once in a while I go back through and check
yeah.
and see
Oh
if I
yeah, I
can
do that
upgrade things. And
regularly.
sometimes I'll be like, you know what? I think we can take that out. Or I think
Yeah,
this worksheet could actually be half as long because some of these questions are actually not, or whatever, right? So I'm
yeah.
always like looking for little ways to, again, it's an iterative process. So yeah, you can always revisit and improve it a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Like I do twice a year, I do like a serious audit. Just also because things change, and then all of a sudden you got a video that still mentions something old or something not relevant anymore. And I think with all of us, we're in businesses that are not, you know, it, I always feel like in the good old days, things were stayed the way they were for a very long time, and now everything is just on the move all the time.
Yeah.
So, and that's also something I once I realized that my videos didn't have to be these half-hour training videos. All my videos in my training course are like 5 minutes or less, because that also allows me to take that one video on that one topic and toss it out and reshoot it without having to reshoot and
Yeah. Makes it
edit
easier to, yeah,
the entire thing.
totally.
And I will go into a course. If I go into, I remember I signed up for this course with this guy who sounded really good. And I got the course and it was a single 90-minute video.
Oh yeah.
I actually wrote him back and I said, "You must be fucking kidding me." And then he got all testy with me. Of course he did, because I was not being, I was being Swiss about my feedback, not American. And I was like, I'm never going to watch that. And I'm like, okay, 90 bucks spent, on something I'll never do. And I'm like, I'm not going to watch a 90-minute video. I'm not even going to start watching a 90-minute video. So, but if you give me something that comes in nice little, like, bite-sized videos, I'm like, oh, sure. Let me grab one video before I cook dinner. Let me grab one quick video before I go into the
Yeah.
next meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. So organizing it that way, yeah, for
Yeah.
learning outcomes is really, really important, because
Yeah.
not only does it make it easier for you to edit in the future and for your students to refer back to and find that
Yeah.
one thing they're like, oh, I want to review that one thing, but
Exactly.
also the first time through, yeah, it's going to be much more seamless. They'll not get discouraged the moment they open it up.
Yep.
You want them to feel like, I mean, if you think about any time you've gone through a course, right? Like
Yep.
it's easy to get overwhelmed and demotivated. And so
Yep.
like
Yep.
if you can keep it running along so they can see that progress and feel like, oh, they're getting me somewhere already, this is great,
This is great. Yeah.
it works out a lot better for everyone.
Yeah, totally does. And I have the hot chili pepper thing going, where like the videos they must watch are 3 hot chili peppers, and the ones that are just like inspirational are 1 hot chili
Oh, I
pepper.
like that.
Yeah.
That's
So,
cool. Okay,
so
so
I,
like you mark kind of what, yeah, I like that. That's a good idea. I might have to
so
use that.
yeah, I have 3, 2, and 1. And the ones are sort of, I tell them, if you don't have time, if you're already like chomping at the bits, don't even go there. And because sometimes there's like some fun videos or some videos that might underscore something I said, but it's not really necessary to
Right.
meet your next goal. And then there's the videos I definitely want to make sure they watch. And I try to really be very discerning about what gets 1, 2, or 3 hot chili peppers. So
I like it. That's great.
yep. And I'm a visual person. So for me, it also breaks up because if you open up a chapter and it's like 6 videos, there's not that immediately, oh shit, 6 videos. It's like, oh, only 2 of them have 3 hot chili peppers. So I get away with only watching 2 videos if I'm in a rush,
Right.
right? So yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well,
Great.
Jason, this has been, is there anything I didn't ask you that you think I should have asked or that you're burning to share?
Oh, goodness.
No?
Well, I mean, I would just say this. I think there are a lot of reasons why people avoid making a course, which is unfortunate because I think it is such a powerful way to refine and package your thought leadership. And it's not just an additional income stream. Like we said, it focuses and clarifies your thinking about what you're doing. It's like writing a book, right? And it creates an asset, like a signature process that you might deliver through this course, but you could also take that and maybe take a piece of it and do an in-person workshop, or right. So there's so many benefits to it that I just want to like encourage people. It's like, look, the tech does not need to hold you back. In fact, if you're worrying about the tech right now, it's probably too early. There's ways to do this without fancy tech to get it out to the market the
Yep.
first time. If you're worried about are people going to buy it or not, it's like, well, just do some proper market research and talking to people in your market first, and that'll go a long ways to making a course people will want to buy. So
Yep.
I just say that in encouragement because I think that if we have more amazing, smart people with important ideas that can serve people and problems that are out there, and now we have the internet that allows you to reach the exact people who want to learn from you.
Yep.
Well, online courses is one of the great ways to do that. So I guess just in the spirit of a little bit of a pep talk, there's still some people worry about has the ship sailed on online courses. Like, no, actually
Oh,
it's
no.
continuing. Their statistics say online education is continuing to grow. And in the next, like by 2027, it's going to be like $1 trillion market. So it's growing rapidly.
Yeah.
Some of that, of course, is universities, needing to go online and all this stuff and
Yep.
corporate training. But some of it's also just people like you and me making quality stuff to put out there in the world and help people with their specific goals, problems, unfulfilled needs, desires. So, I just want to encourage anybody who's thought about doing it to give it a go. There are ways to test it very quickly, and you can definitely make a bigger impact in the world that way.
Yep. Absolutely. Thank you, Jason. Where do people get a hold of you best?
Yeah. So getting on my newsletter is always great. jasonvanorden.com, and you'll see the newsletter thing up there. And I've got, a little toolkit I send you to help you get started thinking about what your online course might be as well. And in fact, if you want to download this really good case study I have that people can find by going to leanlaunchmethod.download. So that's a web address, leanlaunchmethod.download. And that'll get you on my newsletter. It'll also give you a case study that goes through kind of more step-by-step what my process of launching an online course looks like. And so if people are interested, like, oh, let me kind of see more A to Z what this might look like, that's a good place to start.
Leanlaunchmethod.com.
.download.
Download. Okay, because for some reason my commenting here on StreamYard is not going to LinkedIn. So I'll put that all in right after the show.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
It's just going to YouTube, which probably no one is on YouTube. I tried earlier to be doing this on the side, but I can't listen to you and have a conversation and also
Yeah.
that just doesn't go well. Anyway, time to get a new VA to do that for me while I'm on the show.
There you go. There you go.
Jason, this was a really fascinating conversation. One that I personally was super, super excited and interested in having with you. So thank you for your time. And thank you for sharing so generously with our audience and with me. And I know you and I will be talking in one way, shape, or form or another before
Absolutely.
long. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Nina.
And everybody else, have a great month. And I'll see you next month with another fabulous guest. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.